sounds very grandiose, but really what spiritual evolution means is becoming more skillful and recognizing light within our own. So becoming more skillful in finding happiness. That's which we are constantly looking for here or there. Sadhana is becoming very skillful in finding. And whether we come here for DTC or ADTC or guest, really the purpose is to understand better sadhana. That's the ultimate thing. So we will share a few words of Swami Shivananda from his wonderful book, This Divine, on the subject of sadhana. And we would often recommend this as a primary book to get Swami Shivananda once you leave the ashram. This is one of the greatest books. And this is actually a book that came out after Swami Shivananda left his body. It was put together by one close disciple, Nanta Narayan, who was a close disciple of Swami Shivananda. And he was a great journalist, if I'm not mistaken. And he put together this book, taking all main teachings of Swami Shivananda and putting them in different essays, chapters about different subjects of the spiritual life. If you want to really study systematically all the main teachings, yoga by Swami Shivananda, this will be the primary. So Swami Shivananda is explaining that sadhana or this conscious movement towards happiness is a process that is based on our ability to recognize our suffering. This is where usually we fall short of the mark. Because when suffering comes, generally it's not something that we like to acknowledge or we like to understand. Usually when something is a bit uncomfortable, what do? We go to Ben and Jerry's, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, you name it. Whatever is a little bit, whenever there is something uncomfortable, we like to numb the mind. We like to distract ourselves. You know, this is what it's called weapon for mass distraction. Good friend. So it's very natural for the mind when something is a little bit uncomfortable inside to look to be distracted. And that's what the mind is looking for. Days, it becomes easier and easier to stay distracted. But actually, from a spiritual point of view, this is very problematic because the uneasiness inside is a great blessing. Why the uneasiness inside, some degree of pain inside, is actually very good for us? Why do you think it's very good for us? Why is it very good for us to have some anger, have some jealousy, have some stress, some anxiety, some fear? Why these are actually a great blessing? Why do you think? There is a lesson inside. What kind of a lesson? That we have to make some type of a change. See, just to give you one example, for many years when I was in our ashram in New York, I used to have this Samsung Galaxy S7. Many years, that's wonderful phone. Not to do the advertisement, but that was the phone. And I had it for quite some time. And I was very comfortable. But then there was Verizon was making this deal where you can upgrade your phone almost for no charge, get the S10. And this was quite some years ago. And the director at the ashram was saying, Swami, we have to go to get the S10. And I was really reluctant because it was a 1 hour drive. And then to change the phone, maybe the new phone was good. maybe we'll lose the photos, maybe we'll lose the... So I was really avoiding it for quite some time. Finally, after I think it was a few months, was persistent. I said, Swami, I'm not attached. You have to surrender. And we went together to the Verizon shop and we gave in the S7 and we get the S10. We say, lo and behold, the S10 was so much better. And I was thinking, my God, I changed it all this time. Why did I wait so long? But you see, the only way we could have got the S10 is if we gave the S7. As long as we hold on to the S7, we could not get the S10. In the same way, this is exactly like this in life. As long as there is a holding on the ego and the false sense of self, the real self can never be revealed. Who we truly are is always there, but it's always hidden as long as we strongly hold on the false identity that at the moment we take ourselves to be. So, how does the supreme intelligence, how does the Lord help us the most? He makes the false self a bit unpleasant. He gives us some knee pain. He gives us some digestive problems, some gum problems, some egoic problems. And only when it becomes uncomfortable to think that I am Swami Paramananda, I will be willing to give that up. And I will be looking at that which is true and beyond, which is the untouched, all-pervading pure consciousness that I am. So as long as I think that I am Swami Paramananda, I can never know who I truly. So the Lord provides a lot of problems to our whole sense of self. And it's a good thing because that's what's going to push us to live to seek who we truly are. But if we don't allow the life problems to be there, because we run for distractions, run numbing ourselves, we stay stuck in the cage. We stay stuck in the false identity. The only way we can find real freedom is by acknowledging limitations. Otherwise, we will be very happy to stay in the limitation because we are distracting ourselves and not acknowledging that we are in limitation. For the truth of the matter, we are all in a great limitation, but we prefer not to acknowledge it. That keeps us in the limitation. So we want to learn to acknowledge the issue of the false self. And that's what pain basically is. It's just allowing us to see, hey, Swami, wake up. There is something much greater, an S10 waiting for you, but you need to be able to give up the S7. And usually we'll only give up the S7 when the S7 breaks down. So we need some type of issues in our life. They're actually the greatest blessing to us. So sadhana is waking us up to the possibility that there is something much greater here and so somebody says, it says, today, what day is today? Somebody says today is the best day. This is the yogic. Today is the best day. Today is the day of your new birth. Start sadhana now. Sadhana means this journey to discover fully what the I am is and to take advantage of life lessons. Don't not to stay dumb, but to learn from it. So start sadhana now. With folded arms. Bid bye to past mistakes and faults. You have learned your lessons. March forward now with new hope, determination, and vigilance. Waver not, fear not, doubt not. Do something substantial in the path of sadhana. And Swamiji explains that when we are actually starting to commit ourselves in spiritual practice, one of the primary things that we're going to be facing is these our own shortcomings. Even though we are wanting to be better, even though we want to be free, we see again and again how we fall short of the mark. One of the primary things in the spiritual path is to learn to develop this level of maturity that even when we our mistakes and our shortcomings, we don't uh, hit ourselves in the head. Don't, we don't get caught in a lot of self judgment. So we need to be able to see all of our wrongdoings and all of our shortcomings without any judgment, completely objective. Real spiritual maturity is a capacity of going in objectivity. Usually, the way that we perceive life and definitely perceive our own mind is very subjective. Don't, very difficult to acknowledge what is actually there in the mind because it can be a bit painful. But we need to be able to see what is in the mind and not be pulled down by it. Don't see it, it keeps running the show. So we need to be able to acknowledge what is operating in our mind without any judgment. Completely objective. So Swamiji says, do not let failures discourage you. Go on doing your best. Do not brood over your past mistakes and failures, as this will only fill your mind with grief, regret, and depression. Not repeat them in the future. Be cautious. Just think of the causes which led you to failures and try to remove them in the future. So one of the main practices that Swami Shivananda recommends is this practice of self-analysis, where every night before we go to sleep, we think for a moment over the day and we write down primarily the things that we know that we may shouldn't have done that day. We know that they were not really supportive of our spiritual evolution. We ate 10 cookies. We were supposed to only eat one. And we write down, I said this, or I wrote this message, which was not so nice. We write down the thing that we know that were not so uh, beneficial, that we did that day. Then, so first of all, we write it down because it will help us to acknowledge the fact that it was done. If we acknowledge it, it will start helping the, the journey of not doing it again. If we even just acknowledge that it was done. Other thing which will help us this even more is to be able to write why we did. Why did I say this not so kind word? Why did I do this? I know that it's not so nice for one. Try to understand, okay, I did this out of anger, or I did this out of jealousy, or I did this out of fear. And then if we can, what would be the next step is to try to recognize what attachments and desires are at the heart. Because anger, jealousy, fear are all byproducts of attachments and desires. So if we can, when any of our wrongdoings in the day, we will try to uncover what were the attachments and desires that create. And this is very essential to uncover because the whole spiritual journey is a journey from wrong thinking to right thinking. Whole journey from suffering to happiness is just a cognitive shift. Wrong thinking, right thinking. And the wrong thinking manifests as attachments and desires. Basically, that attachments and desires are what we call wrong. It's a thinking that the happiness is outside, different from. That is happening in our mind all the time, unconscious. And the only way to find that happiness that we're looking for is through this shift from wanting, from the thinking I am limited and incomplete, and therefore I need something external to complete me. This is what needs to be. This re-education has to take place. It's happening all the time at the very foundation of our psychology. All of our mental phenomena is based on I'm inadequate and I need something to make me adequate. And it's happening, and we're not really understanding that it's happening. But it leads to anger, jealousy, fear, anxiety, stress, everything. So, what sadhana is all about is to see the mind and be able to see the roots of the mental phenomena. And then be able to uproot the gradual process of the spiritual path, uprooting the causes of suffering, which is all in our misunderstanding of what we are. So this is a little bit about sadhana as the means for happiness. Happiness is always in our heart, but at the moment our mind is telling us otherwise. That is what we are learning to recognize and then shan, 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 speak, speaks, Shikandama, Shiki, Cha, Kulosa, Shadavanandama, Shiki, Cha, computer,